I'm sorry, King. 7? What's up, guys? Once again, here we are to do a nice little breakdown and review of chapter 138 of Four Knights of the which is known as Gnossians in the Fairy King's Forest. And I ain't gonna lie to y'all, this chapter, it's a little bit of that soft gas. That sweet gas. It ain't gas in the way Arthur versus Lancelot was. It ain't gas in the way that Percy versus Mortlock was. It ain't even gas in the way that Gawain and Tristan versus the Testament Beast was. It's that special kind of gas. It's that gas that you roll up if you feel in some type of way. It's that gas that makes you feel like the next chapter gonna have to pay with some more traditional gas for an action manga. But enough talking about the gas in abstract terms. Let's hop right into the gas itself. Anime, ready, 3, 2, 1, go. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, I do happen to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. And another fun fact, Gnossians. My boy, question mark? My boy. I'm happy to have Gnossians back. Notably, despite Gnossians being one of my favorite characters introduced in the second part of the duology, I've been hearing bells ring. I've been seeing flags fly. Oh, Gnossians, why do I feel you may die? Like, I am definitely still worried for my boy. Like, 100%. $1,000,000%. $1,000,000,000,000%. But this does give me some new hope, some new excitement, and I'm still very, very intrigued, while also doubling down on my fears. But enough of that. Let's actually talk about the color page itself. Once again, Nakaba showing that he can just be a demon with it. Like there's no other way to excuse it. There's no other way to work around it. There's nothing I can say or do to not talk about it. The man's just amazing with it. From the shading on Gnossian, showing the light reaching forward, to the detail and coloration within his eyes, from his pupil to the lower iris to the upper iris, with the dash of light in between, the dash of light on his face. Admittedly, I'm typically not a fan of how Nakaba does lips and color pages. Like, unless it's lipstick. Like, notably, we'll talk about some with lipstick in a second. But, like, I'll even admit, this one is actually kind of growing on me. I like how the light even reflects off there, the light off the fraction of the nose, the underturning of the light on the face. Everything here looks fantastic. And, of course, it's completely ignoring the centerpiece and the multi-layered depiction of everything that's happening here. Look who's on Gnossians' mind. In this case, quite literally, Percival. I do love the symbolism here and the fact that Percival has been taking up Gnossians' thoughts, had Gnossians feeling some type of way for a hot minute now, has had Gnossians enthralled with Percy. And this is a multi-layered thing, not just for the fact that Percival has been on Gnossians' mind ever since he was like, goodbye, I'll see you in the next part, and then he just vanished from the livelihood. The livelihood. That's not the proper use of that term. He vanished from life. Alright, he removed himself from the server. Not only has he been on his mind since then, but, like, I'm not saying that it's not somewhat of a reach, but if you read the entirety of part 1 and all the different interactions and all the pained interactions we've seen with Gnossians in regards to his feelings about Percival, I think it's not too bold, it's not too brash, it's not too crass to say that Gnossians, he feels a certain type of way about Percival. He may like Percival just a little bit. And in that case, I do 100% think that this is twofold. Not only is Gnossians have Percival on the mind for the fact that he's trying to save him, but also just because he loves Percival. Like, it's simple as that. Of course, he's kind of digi-destined to have that unrequited love, which is another reason why I think he's kind of destined to, dearly beloved, we've gathered here today. Like, I can see the vision on that one. But I do like this multifaceted thing. The end on his mind. And once again, I do like how Nakaba uses the colors here. Note how the rest of Gnossian's hair is this deep, heavily saturated blue. Like, it's barely even turquoise. It's nigh on, it's like maybe a shade or two off from matching the flowers that surround Gnossians. But when coming to the lights, to the hope, what happens? There's not a higher concentration of darkness, very akin to these flowers. No, there's a lightness, a freedom. But a freedom that binds the two together, seeing how Percival's hair fades into Gnossians' hair. Fantastic work, fantastic work. And now, I gotta talk about it. Oh Lord, I gotta talk about. All right. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. All right, we're gonna talk about the elephant in the room. And by elephant, I mean it might as well literally be an elephant. Dog, someone look me in the eyes and tell me, what is that? What is that thing? What is it? I was hoping, I had my reaction in the spoiler discussion, but I was really, really, really hoping that, like, I would come around to it. I would soften on it. I was hoping something would happen that would make me, like, retroactively appreciate the design, or, like, something positive, all right? I was hoping something positive would come out of my feelings for this design. No, it's still... It is simultaneously nightmarish and hilarious. I don't know how you do it. Nakama is one of the few mangaka who can very consistently design characters that I have two polar opposite feelings about. Like, half of me is uncomfortable looking at that thing. Half of me doesn't even want to look at it, but the other part of me can't look away. It's like a train wreck. Like, legitimately. Like a violent train crash, where it's like wrong and right, but mostly wrong in all the right ways. Like, sweet mother of... What is this? Like, clearly I get it. Diane's hair color, Diane's hairstyle, Diane's eyes. Why does it have sharp teeth? Why does it have fangs? Like, notably, we do see fairies later on in this very chapter who have fangs. And who knows? Sure, none of the royal fairy line, nor any giant we've ever seen has had fangs. But maybe that's just in the king's genetic code. So when they have kids, maybe there's a low, probably... I think I was about to say, like, 1 in 7, because it is 7 kids. A 1 in 7% chance that they'll have fangs. But, it really does not help their case for looking gremlinish. Like, I'm sorry, it's not, and here's the thing. All this hating, you may think, well, Hansel, you must think it's a bad character design then. Not really. It's not bad. It's not like a war crime or anything. But it's nothing that's like, wow, I really like this design. I really hope we get to see it again. If it never shows up. And I'm calling it, mainly because I don't know Shinner. But I'm calling it. It could literally never show up after this chapter, and you would never hear me complain. I am more than fine with seeing every single one of the other Cayenne kids. Not this thing. Ban it from the server. If we need to raise the stakes somehow and get King and Diane extra invested in the battle, off this one. Arthur, like, if you've ever seen that one Thanos panel where he tears Iron Man in half, Arthur, I got your target, bucko. But, of course, that's being too mean. Let me hop off this character. Let me talk about the other characters. It's Blonde Diane. Once again, I can kind of rationalize this as, well, the fairy tree. And we know Elaine is blonde, so it makes sense that King's kids could come out blonde, because they are biological siblings. Which is a funny thing to think about. But I guess, legally speaking, Gloxinia, Dahlia, Gerharde, Elaine, and Harlequin, they're all siblings. In a weird roundabout way. Like, legally speaking, they're not. Well, no. I mean, kind of legally speaking, they are. They have the same dad or mom, whatever you think of the Great Fairy. Both. They have the same progenitor, essentially. And, like, sure, I guess all fairies technically have the same progenitor, but they're very explicitly noted as children of the tree. So, like, I do generally think they do count, and they have some sort of historical biological data, which makes sense why she would come out blonde, because Elaine came out blonde. That recessive trait is in fact there. So sure, does it look a little weird? Yeah, because it's basically, other than that, it's just Diane and like a slightly tweaked outfit. But still, I think that's good enough. I think it's good enough. I like the purple eyes. This one's an enigma to me. I'm not sure where the orange hair comes from. And notably, it's not just her, it's this guy as well. They both have orange hair. I want to say it's a merger of King and Diane. Kind of, sort of. Maybe. I don't know. King's hair was never orange. Like, the thing is, if you mix King and Diane's hair, I don't think you get this orange hue here. So, interesting. I really wonder where Nakama pulled that from, because I'm not really able to consider or think of where he could have gotten that hair color from. Because even, like, Dahlia and Gloxinia, like, maybe it's a light, branded, dulled-down version of Gloxinia's hair? And I think by proxy, Dahlia's hair? Maybe that's it? But other than that, I have no idea how to reconcile the whole hair situation here. Very interesting. And on a hairstyle front, I think she does have like the most unique and most advanced hairstyle. I'm not sure what it's called. As you can see, your boy does not have much hair to work with. But like, with that being the case, I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but that kind of hairstyle works to differentiate her from her mom and dad, which is fantastic. I do like that. This little guy here, he reminds me of Sario of Four Knights fame. Not Four Knights, Four Archangels fame. So like, I don't know. That's about it. I'm not sure what kind of vibes I get from this guy. He seems evil though. I just went from, I don't know what kind of vibes I get from this guy to, well, you know, in my bones. If I had to put it on my bones, probably evil. I don't know. Something about that look. Something about the shading. Something about he doesn't even smile or talk this entire chapter. Like, there's some characters who don't smile. There's some characters who don't laugh. But there are the characters who don't even talk that I feel like you need to be the most scared of it. He never speaks. And I do kind of like it. Once again, it's a fusion, not necessarily a fusion fit, but it's a fit pretty much probably essentially crafted by King for his son, which is a nice little detail. Then we have who ends up being revealed to be Myrtle. Myrtle looks, I'm not gonna say strange, but like not unstrange, if you know what I'm saying. At least relative to the rest of the kin. Like, notably, I can take loose guesses because of the eye color here that, oh yeah, this could be Diane's kid, and you know, she just put her hair up like that instead of keeping it down like her sister or other sister or brother. But at the same time, I don't know, seems a little bit suspicious, especially considering what's revealed in this chapter. Possibly. But with that being the case, Chore looks fine. Once again, I am a little confused on the I'm trying to think. I'm genuinely trying to think. Would it be possible for all of them to get Spirit Spears? That's my main question. Hold on. Yeah, but I am genuinely wondering. I'm genuinely wondering if they're all going to get sacred treasures of any sort, any spears, anything. Because, notably, these characters cannot be that important. It's why I think Anakaba gave them so many, yet gave Tristan and Elizabeth, and Lance, not Tristan and Elizabeth, Meliodas and Elizabeth, and Elaine and Bond so few kids. Because every single one of those two kids, either one of them could be viable for the plot, but none of these kids are viable. Realize, especially if this guy does end up just being another one of these guys, which I do believe he is for the most part, then we are kind of locked here. We can't go any further. Because remember, these guys are all fairy giants, meaning they cannot enter Camelot, because they do not fit they fit the designation, and the fact that they are, you know, kept out from Camelot. There's nothing else they can do in terms of getting in, which, while fine enough, for the most part, on every other level, very specifically when it comes to them invading Camelot and being an asset on that front, they can't. So all of these characters getting anything like a Spirit Spear, anything like a Sacred Treasure is super duper unlikely. But they may probably going to end up be like the housing place for Dubs once they end up finding him. If they end up finding him, considering it's been 2 years and presumably he still hasn't been found yet. But overall, nice enough. This was all a Tiore and Myrtle discussion in terms of their designs. Once again, don't know where the pink hair comes from, assuming that's going to be Gloxinia. Black hair, I don't know, I guess the Great Fairy Tree. This one, once again, kind of the orange, brownish hair. This actually looks more like a mix of King Diane's hair. And he just looks like King. King with pointy ears, which is interesting. This is the only royal-blooded fairy character who has pointy ears outside of the original two royals in Gloxinia and Gerharde. The only one. Giants don't have pointy ears. Neither do King or Gloxinia. Well, no. King. Who is it? Who's the three? King doesn't have pointy ears, Elaine doesn't have pointy ears, and Dahlia doesn't have pointy ears. They don't have regular ears. So this is the first royal in multiple millennia to actually have pointy ears. First royal fairy, at least, to have pointy ears and just look exactly like his daddy, which is fine. And once again, this guy reminds me of Sariel. So overall, W designs. I know I clowned on this thing a lot. It's crazy how it takes up the most space here. But still, overall, very, very good designs. 7 kids. I'm still interested to figure out the age difference between these, if they are septuplets, if there's anything up with that. Because remember, apparently all these guys existed in the 18-year time skip. Somehow. Some way. I don't know how, though. Still feels weird. But with that being the case, let's actually hop right into chapter 138. So, we open up, and we do get to see that we are leaving right where we left off at the end of last chapter, as Tiore asks, "Hey, Nasi, do you know why they call this the Tunnel of Whispers?" And Nasi drops a game theory where he's like, "Oh, no, not really. Is it because the rustling through the wind causes the branches to sound like whispering, maybe?" A very good, reasonable assumption. Better than me, because I just thought, is this because this is where Elaine was kept and she was like whispering from the afterlife? Mainly because I think this is the exact same spot. But actually, no, it can't be the exact same spot because Elaine was being kept in the mortal realm. Her body, at least, was being kept in the mortal realm. While this is very specifically noted to be the fairy realm. Not the Fairy King's Forest, which exists in the real world, very specifically the fairy realm. So this isn't even the same place Elaine was being held. So my theory was completely wrong now I think about it. The reason I bring that up is because it's in the 40-minute, it's a chunker, 40-minute live reaction. We can check it over on Patreon for those $1 a month, or become a member for as low as $3 a month to check out right now, because it's up. But with that being the case, that was 40 minutes. That was a chunk, boy. And also, you can go to $25 Patreon in order to order any video you want, or a $25 member in order to order any video you want from your boy, as you want it. But with that being the case, while Nonsense drops the game theory, Tori's like, "Well, I'll be real with you. My dad told me a long time ago, but I honestly forgot. I wonder what it was." So, Tiore is definitely more her mom than her dad, if I had to say. Very lighthearted, very relaxed, very playful, which is all fine. Notably, we do have the more serious child introduced later in Myrtle, so I think it's fine. We can definitely have this one, and presumably she's like this because she had to play off of Tristan with no lance, and presumably Tristan with no lance at whatever age he's supposed to be in Seven Deadly Sins Origin is a lot more serious than the Tristan we may have seen in Grudge of Edinburgh, because he doesn't have Lance to play off of. So giving Tiore this kind of personality is fine. Once again, don't know how old she is. She could just be 18. King and Diane could have just had septuplets. But at the same time, it's entirely possible she's like 6? Is 6 the number? I think 6 is the number. Because I'm pretty sure Seven Deadly Sins Origin predates Grudge of Edinburgh, and Tristan was 14 in Grudge of Edinburgh. So I think she could, at the youngest she can be is 4. I think it's the lowest you can go. But that's fine. Admittedly, I was having problems with it at first. Once I read through the rest of the chapter, I'm actually pretty fine with Tiore. I'm hoping we get to see her cook a little bit more. Apparently, she can summon monsters based on the beasts that the Seven Deadly Sins were initially related to. So I'm interested to see how that magic ends up popping off. And it seems very, very unique. Like, it's a magic. Like, we've had summoners before. Like, we have Kion, we have Ironside. But I'm very interested to see how this magic ends up playing out. So I hope Tiore does get more screen time. I'm actually very excited to see how she ends up interacting, especially with Nonsense. Because she kind of, ironically enough, now that I think about it, she kind of is our Percy substitute. Like, Percy Light, essentially, in terms of general narrative role and mentality and how they act as a character. She's basically like chapter 1 through 15 Percy, without the sadness. Without, like, the genuine, like, sadness and or trauma. Which is fine. But, like, that's what the character reminds me of. And we see Nasi just collapses from the sheer display of lack of competence from the princess of the fairies. But, of course, as she laughs at him, he just, "I gotta chalk this one up to the game, Nasi. Let's chalk it up to the game. Let's keep it pushing." And they proceed to keep it pushing deep into the Tunnel of Whispers. And we see that in this clearing lays a body that we know oh so well. And Nonsense declares, "Well, I'm back. I hope that you're feeling well in there, Percival." And yep, here he is. Of course, we saw Percival not at the end of last chapter, but the end of 2 chapters, I think it was 135, where we saw Percival with this long behind hair, but now we actually get to see the man in person, not just through the recollection or the flashback of the image of somebody else, in that case, Anne. So this is what Percival looks like. Y'all, he's kind of like, y'all see that concept for like Super Saiyan 10, where it's just like Goku surrounded with loads and loads and loads of hair? That's basically Percival right now, but slightly more tuned down. Like, he's kind of like Super Saiyan 3.5 in terms of like sheer hair growth. Like, bro is drowning in his own hair. And like, that's impressive. I don't know. Notably, your boy does not have too much hair, and it does not grow that quickly. The only thing that'll grow is like the line or hair around the line, which causes it to mess up. But like, jeez, man, for 2 years, bro is pumping out it. Like, Bond had hair just about this long after he spent, what, like 100 years Well, actually, I don't think we know a time period for when he first went in, got turned into a beast, a soul beast, and then turned back with the long hair. I don't think we actually have a time period for that. But I think he fought Meliodas for like 100 years, and his hair was just about this long. It's been 2 years for Percival, and his hair is already this long. Golly! But of course, he does kind of look a bit older overall. It doesn't seem like it's just the hair. It seems like he may be slightly taller, but it still seems he's a little bit stubby. Like these arms and legs don't seem to be the longest relative to what Percy could be. So I do think he may have grown a little bit, but not to the point where he's going to be like towering over people when he returns. I don't think he's going to be Donnie height. If anything, I could see him being just a bit taller than Anne and Nasian's maybe. But with that being the case, I do actually hope he keeps at least some variation of this design. I don't want him to return back to the part 1 design, or even like the part 1 design. If you remember how big Percival's hair was in chapter 1, I don't want to go back to that. But I wouldn't mind if he kept it like maybe down so the hair reached his lower back. Like give him that like rough mane of hair. I actually really do like this design for Percival. I'd love to see it used further and further. Obviously not the full amount of hair that would probably get in the way, but this, like if you were to cut it like, let's say right about here, right where it's nearly at basically his lower back, I think it'd be really cool. It'd be a good way to show his progression without changing his facial structure all too much, considering his facial structure looks mostly the same. However, with that being the case, I wonder why they took his clothes. Like, why? Maybe that may just be like a hint to him still growing. Maybe he was literally growing out of them. They're like, whoa, before he rips these, let's take these off. But like, if not that, and I can't tell if it's that, Nasians, you just wanted your hands all over Percy, huh? But like, with that being the case, we see that Teodor brings up a pretty obvious, sad, but real point. All the times you talk to him, and no sight of him talking back. But that hair of his keeps on growing. How about we cut it? Come on, Nasi. Let's go play somewhere else. The utilization of the word play is what makes me think Teodor is younger than like the 18. But at the same time, right? I gotta think of it from their perspective. It's like, what, 18 years in fairy and giant time is like a blink. Like, it's barely any time at all when you really think about it. Because, heck, think about it. Even in the grand scheme of things, a 18-year period, say the average human lifespan and expectancy is like 75. 18 years out of 75 is a little bit over a third. Is my math on that one? It's nearly mathing. I think it's about a fourth. Because, yeah, it's about a fourth of human lifespan, right? 18, because 18 goes into 84 and something times. So, like, sure, it's a fourth of our lifespan. But remember, demons, not to talk of goddesses, giants, or fairies, demons live for 1,000 years. 1,000 years, 18 years of that is much, much shorter. It's about a 40th. Not a 40th. It's like a barely, I think it is like around a 40th or nearly a 50th of time for an 18-year-old. So her being mentally younger than she may physically appear kind of does make sense. Especially if you remember, fairies, they're usually born at full size. Like, notably, King popped out as King. Elaine popped out as Elaine. Gloxinia and Dahlia, all fairies. Heck, even Helbram, we never really see baby fairies. Or mainly baby fairies. You don't see those. They kind of just pop into existence. So, it would make sense that she could be like 5. And still have this kind of mentality. So it's not necessarily her fault. Especially in the grand scheme of things, she's probably very, very, very mature for her relative age. Like, however old you think. Like, let's say she has a half of her Aunt Gerharde's lifespan. Right? Gerharde's been around for 3,000 years. And looks no worse for wear. Even if Tiori lived up to 1,500, let me even run the calcs on that one. I'm pretty sure it's kind of crazy, but let me actually run the calcs. 1,500 divided by 18. And this is assuming she's fully 18. I know she stayed to be the youngest. So she's probably younger than this. But let's say 18. I did that backwards, I think. Hold on. How's the math on this one? Well, essentially, an 83rd 83rd of her lifespan has gone by. You put a human at an 83rd of their lifespan, and you'd be lucky if they can speak English or whatever language they were being taught as they grew up. So Tiore, very, very mature, actually. And we see that she brings up Mushroom Mountain as a possibility to go play at, but Nasians is locked in. And he even turns, he's looking at her like, really? Do you not see me bonding one-on-one with my man while Anne's not here? You know the real reason I'm not in Camelot? It's not because I'm hypothetically King and Diane's child. It's because I really want to spend time with Percy while Anne is distracted. Because you know once Percy wakes up, it's not Nasian's arms he's running into, and it's going to be Anne's. But with that being the case, we see Tiore zip away and flap her wings slowly but surely as she sings. Unfortunately, maybe these aren't her full-size wings, but another reason why I just don't think the Cayenne kids are going to be all too relevant. The wings are already here. And, like, they could get bigger. She could develop another set of them. But she's already has wings. One of the biggest things for King was the development of wings. They started out very, very tiny. Well, actually, no, they started out non-existent, then very, very tiny. Then they spontaneously burst to full size. I feel like Tiore's already at her full size. So, like, there's a big knock to them being relevant. Once again, it's just how the narrative's set up. But at the same time, I get why the narrative's set up that way. It's kind of limiting in the sense that, well, if none of our Seven Deadly Sins characters who aren't part human or human can enter, which means only Gother, Elizabeth, and Bond can enter, well, it kind of sucks for King Diane and Meliodas that they can't participate actively in the plot. But if they could participate actively in the plot, Meliodas especially, it causes too many problems. So I understand the introduction of the human barrier, the human-only barrier around Camelot. Man, still kind of sucks. But with that being the case, we see that Nasian's a bit annoyed is like, if you're bored, you're free to go somewhere by yourself, you know. And he goes digging in that bag. And we see Tiore's like, oh, me? Bored? Oh, never. Never. Your boyfriend's never going to wake up Nasians and he doesn't love you. Like she's playing along with it. And we see that Nasians, he's like, oh, whatever. I'm just not. I'm not dealing with it. I'm not dealing with it. She's not here, Nasian. She's not here. Let's lock in for our man. And Nasian, man, maybe foreshadowing, but Nasian says, I made another new medication. Oh, I'll test it first, alright? And he knocks back a swig of that bad boy. And he goes, oh, I'm finna, oh, man, this is amazing. Oh, this is laced. Oh, it's so laced. I laced it myself. Oh, it's got this much of an effect. This Zaza is amazing. Oh, he's genuinely freaking and tweaking. Like, notably, I've bit my tongue before. And I live by the philosophy, you never know how hard you move or how hard you do things until you hit something. Like, notably, I never remember how much force I step and move with until I jam my toe or my foot against something and I feel the 1,000 leagues of pain that is. But do you know how much force you need to bite into your lip to produce this much juice? You know how much force you need to bite into your lip in general to draw juice? Like it's just not, like, I don't know, unless Nasian secretly has, like, fangs or something. You're like, huh? Like, but don't get me wrong, I don't have, like, fangs or anything, but even really understanders, I mean, I can't, okay, to be fair, I'm, like, stopping myself because I don't want to produce juice. But, like, what kind of force, Nasian, are you biting down with? You're causing this much damage to yourself. Bucko, this is crazy. But he actually looks straight up like a beekeeper here. We'll even see Tiore being like, but she actually finds it funny. I love that. Those faces you make, I love them so much. It's this, and a moment later in the chapter, that make me want to believe that Tiore is a lot older mentally than I may think, and makes me want to believe they're septuplets, because, like, I guess this face is somewhat funny, but I'd be more actively concerned if one of my friends were to spontaneously bite into their own body part and start profusely leaking juice. But that's just me, though. Maybe Tiore's different, for real. But she does find it funny. She seems to find, like, humor and what appears to be conflict and or the agony of others. Which is weird, but look at her father. Wouldn't be the first time one of the royal fairy family was a freak. But with that being the case, we see that Nasian slurps up the juice and is like, okay. Here, Percival, It may be laced, but considering you're basically immortal, I don't think that matters. Percy's a sly, Percy a bit of that, right? And notably, this does kind of hard confirm that he is alive, because, fun fact, once you perish, you can't drink things or eat them, because like your whole body shuts down. But he like knocks this back and no issue, and he consumes it. And it's to the point where Nasian's like, oh, that didn't wake you up, huh? So Percy is genuinely, well, he's dead quiet, so it's like, actually, no. Considering he's currently looking majestic in this panel. I ain't gonna lie. This is why I say he looks older and he may have grown physically. Not just because of the missing clothes, not just because of the longer hair, but also because of this image right here. He's more so... Rose had a 2-year-long mewing streak, and he's not gonna let it go for nothing. But we see that did not wake him up either. And we see the sadness in Nasian's. And I do like how Tiore, and a panel that heavily looks like her mother. She's like, oh. But, of course, Tiore, she's a little bit like me for real. In the sense that she can't read a room. As she's like, I have to say, I've likely given this opinion 1,000 times before, but considering I am royalty, and I also may be like mentally 3, it doesn't really matter what I say, because you can't do anything to me, Nasian, other than inciting a human war. I have to say, that kid's being pretty selfish, isn't he? You and your friends care so much for him, Nasi, and he just ditches you all and vanishes. Now, personally, Percy, Nully, I'm going to keep using that joke. It'll be chapter 507, the last chapter of Four Nights of the Apocalypse, and I will still be using the personally joke. It'll never fall until I fall. But with that being the case, I see what she means, but at the same time, I know why Percy did it. Like, and of course, we benefit from the in-head narrative perspective, right? Like, we are readers of the manga, thus we got to see Percy's thought process live. And sure, while I still think it's a bad decision, and while I do understand why Tiore, and obviously, it was revealed in the volume extra, but this is the main part of the manga, where it's even revealed that Tristan feels that type of way. I get both sides. I get their side, in the sense of like, yeah, Percy, like, you want to worry about protecting your friends and their lives? Wouldn't it be better to protect them with you actually being alive? Like, being there to protect them? Instead of, leaving them in the dust? Like, I don't know. I can understand that side of it. But at the same time, I can simultaneously understand Percival's side of it. Where it's like, I'm a threat to my friend's existence. Why don't I just leave? It's basically the same thing that's with Goku at the end of the Cell Saga. Where, like, him staying gone is mad selfish. Like, and you can interpret it as that. I'm not sure what the original consensus was when Goku revealed that he was peacing out on his 11-year-old son who he left the fate of the world with after he just realized that his son does not want to be that guy. And also, I don't think he knew Chi-Chi was pregnant. I'll give Goku a pass. I don't think he actually knew. Maybe, but I don't think so. Because I think if he knew, I don't think he would have left. But, like, with that being the case, yeah. Pretty darn selfish. Sure, there's logic behind it, in the same way that there's a logic behind Percy's choice. Like, well, yeah, all the threats that come to Earth seem to come to Earth because of me. Yeah, but Goku, you being here also stopped those threats. Bucko. By the way, King Piccolo is going to happen whether or not you existed. Heck, Frieza may have come to the planet eventually anyway. The Red Ribbon Army was going to Red Ribbon stuff if you weren't there. Like there are definitely ways to work around and fight against Goku's argument. But at the same time, I can see the vision somewhat behind his logic. Just like I can see the vision somewhat behind Percy's logic. But I do like that this is a part of the series. That we are genuinely acknowledging that not everyone's smooth, buttery, and fine with Percy's choice. We talked about this a little bit in the case of Anne and Donnie when they were talking about it with Pelgard, and we're tackling it again. We're getting multiple characters, different perspectives, and learning about other characters' perspectives, like Tristan, as Nasian admits. Yeah, Tristan said the same thing. He was quite angry. And we see that, once again, unable to read the room. And I can't even blame Tiore for that. Like, I'm bad at reading the room, too. I am horrible at it. I don't know. Your boy's not the sharpest spoon in the kitchen shed, so I'm a little bit slow when it comes to reading a room. But she... Oh, wow. Tree was? Wow. I wonder if this is, like, in genuine reference to their collab. I guess collabs. What does she look like in Seven Deadly Sins Origin? Let me see. I wonder if she's aged or if she just looks the exact same. Chiore, I think she got something in Grand Cross too. I think she got a summon there. I think. Chiore, character design by Suzuki Nakaba for Seven Sins Origin. That agua hitting. But let's see. I think she looks exactly the same. There's some minor differences. Nah, she kind of does look the exact same. Wings, same size. I think the only difference is the hair, somewhat. Even then, I can't tell. Maybe that's just the way the model's positioned. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, she looks pretty much the same. So, and then again, Tristan also looks like to be his 14-year-old. So, Chiori technically could be 2. I still don't know where some of this origin takes place. Yeah, this is the same outfit design. Yeah, this is the exact same design. And this does seem to be an image from Origin. So, interesting. Very, very interesting. What is this? When does this take place in the timeline? Because she could be 2. This game came out already? Did this game come out? I did not know this was a thing. Since Origin release date, did this already drop? I did not know that. It's at least the tweet I clicked on said it should have come out in 2023. Ah, okay. Cross-platform title for mobile, consoles, and PC in 2024. All right. Mobile, not gonna buy it. Not gonna buy it. I'm sorry. I didn't even buy the original Seven Sins game. But interesting. Very, very interesting. I wonder how old she is still. Because I don't trust Nakaba. But with it being the case, she says, he and I sure think alike, don't we? And I do wish, I'm very excited to see Tristan post-time skip. Because he's the one that we've kind of gotten the most hints about without seeing anything. He's presumably the one trapped in the cauldron of Onfuin. He's the reason that Anne and Donnie and Kion and Isolde have been running in and out and causing havoc throughout Camelot. He's the one who had, in my opinion, next to Lancelot, the most interesting reaction to Percy abandoning them all. Like, I'm very intrigued to see Tristan post timeskip. I hope he gets a monstrous, a devious, a demonic, quite literally, glow up. Very, very excited. But, of course, we see that Nasians blames himself, as he says, but I don't think so. It's our fault for being so powerless. It is not. Like, you can't control that, Nasian. Like, you can't. And presumably, he even thought Lance was going to fall because of him. Lance. You know, the guy he couldn't beat? I mean, once again, in the sense where I loosely understand where Nasians is coming from, if I look at it through his eyes, but like, logistically speaking, dude, you've had 2 years to think. Percy he made a rash decision without consulting y'all. And it's fine. It's good for his character. But like, I don't think we can excuse it. Or no, I don't think we can give Percy the excuse of, oh, it's our fault. Because we were weak. Because we were... No, Nasians. It's not your fault. At least not in my view. Maybe someone can try to rationalize it to me, but I don't really see it. As he says, he was afraid that his presence would drag all of his friends into this. And this was the choice he made. And it's the reason why I say, I can see both sides. Percival, it's already too late. All your friends' names and or faces are known by Camelot at the time when he made that choice. Everyone was already involved in the battle anyway. The battle could not suddenly be stopped because you left. If anything, it was going to get worse because you left, bucko. So I still think Percy, he made a mistake. But of course, I'm fine with that. Characters do not need to act perfectly. And that was a good way to cap off part 1. Like, I'm going to make a full video talking about my opinions on part 1. Especially my full proper opinions on Percy's choice, so I don't have to keep bringing it up every single review. But, still good stuff. Still good stuff. I appreciate it. It's nice work. But, of course, we see that Nasian says, Percival has the ability to sense other people's pain and feel like it belongs to him. He really is such a kind-hearted boy. Kuma, is that you? Bartholomew Kuma? Is that you? Are we going to see Percy reach into a bubble of pain? Nah, his powers work differently. But still, for some reason, my brain immediately went to One Piece, which I still haven't read. But I still want to review. I'm scared. I'm very scared, though. I'm scared of that manga company. But with that being the case, let's see. He really is such a kind-hearted boy. And I do like how Chiori generally, once again, looking just like a mama, she generally does smile and appreciate Nasians. and his connection with Percival. And she leans in and is like, and Nasian's like, Tiore? As he gets grabbed. And she says, boy, Nasi, you must really love Percival. And all the posse shippers, all the Nurseval shippers were like, oh, but I'm sorry, Nurseval shippers. Pan is canon. It will always be canon. And it will forever be canon. Nakaba ain't that bold. But with that being the case, we see that Nazian gets flustered and gets smacked away. She goes, yeah, I guess, Baka. And she's like, oh, that's so cute. Why are you acting so embarrassed? And we see that Nazian's like, I don't know what to tell you. We are not having this conversation. You may be like mentally 3 years old. We're not doing this. And we see that Tiore once again is just gonna stick around. As she says, well, I'll keep joining you on your medicinal herb hunts. And we see that Nazian's like, well, as much as I really would not like that, because you are kind of whack, and you do disturb me. Thank you. But before that, I was told to pay a visit to the Fairy King. I wonder by who, which is a random fair. But we see that Tiore asks, once again, a question that makes me question her mental facilities, or whether or not she's put on an act of some sort. She says, what? You mean Dad? Who else? Bon? Who else would it be? Who else, Tiore? Who else would they be referring to? Like, I'm not sure how that is, though. I guess, like, maybe if you're the prince of a kingdom and then someone asks or says that, oh, I need to go see the king, you may be like, you mean Dad? Like, other than Bon, who's the Fairy King? And even then, he's the Fairy King of Benwick. He's not here. Or at least, presumably, you would sense him if he showed up. So, Tiore, what? But of course, Nasin clarifies, because he's like, oh, you're one of those. Okay, Tiore, yes, your dad. The only king of fairies for an 100-mile radius. You stupid! But of course, we cut over to this is this Mushroom Hill? Mushroom Mountain, as she calls it earlier? What does she call it? Let's go play by what? Like on Mushroom Mountain? Is this Mushroom Mountain? No, not this. Is this Mushroom Mountain? This thing's gigantic. Like, golly. It's huge. Nakaba, I still need that sun. Nakaba, give me a sun. Give me some stars. Give me a night sky. Give me something. I need it, Nakaba. I need it. You gotta stop. Stop playing with me. Just give it to me. Give it to me. Give it to me from the manga. Give it to me in the manga. You've been so vague about it. You've been so smooth about it. You've been making it so roundabout. All we have is Cursed by Light. With the 2 moons. And the sun. And the sun ain't Cursed by Light. Which is good enough. But I need something in the manga, Nakaba. Specifically from the Fairy Realm. You skirted around it very, very effectively in the Demon World arc. You refused to. I requested at least a sighting of the moons or a hypothetical sun. And then you had the nerve to say, oh, well, there is no day and night cycle here. Which always smells like some nonsense. But second thing, you didn't give me a sun. Or a moon. Or nothing. So, we're in the Fairy Realm. Nakaba, give it to me. Stop playing these games. But of course, we see on this massive mushroom mountain. Like, this thing is gigantic. Look, this is Diane, y'all. How many Dianes can you fit in the center of this mushroom mountain? But we see atop this beautiful, beautiful area. I mentioned this in the live reaction. We can check it over on Patreon for as low as $1 a month. Become a member for as low as $3 a month to check out. It is 40 minutes long. But Nagaba's smooth with it. Buttery with it with the background designs. Wonderful. This is gorgeous. Like, and there's a guy who hates to draw backgrounds. Like, I don't know. I'm not, it's not like horrid. And notably backgrounds don't have to be complicated. But Nakaba, goaded with the sauce on the backgrounds. Like, just the atmosphere that he can have and the world building he does was simply the images he chooses to use for the backgrounds. Beautiful. He doesn't always do them. Ooh, sorry. He doesn't always do them. There are definitely occasional cases of bleach syndrome, where it's the plain white page for the most part, and he just draws the characters in the panel. But once again, he's working alone. And 2, he still has so many beautiful backgrounds that do so much scene setting and world building and landscape development. It excuses all of it. Bro's just fantastic. A demon with the pen. But of course, the demon with the pen draws this massive old mountain. And we see Nasines pulls up before the royal family. And he says, I've arrived, my lord. May I offer my assistance in some way? Fairy King and Giant Queen as well. And look at them. Oh, they look so pretty. Oh, look at him. Look at him. Look at him. Oh, shoot. I may have to start rolling around at the speed of sound and have places to go. Gotta follow my rainbow. Can't stick around. I gotta keep moving on. It's full speed ahead. Only one way to find out. Let's keep on moving ahead. Let's have questions follow my lead instead. I'll take you somewhere you cannot see. Take my hand and I'll set you free. Follow me, set me free. Trust in me, we will escape from the city. I'll take it through. Follow me, set me free. Trust in me, we will escape from the city. I'll make it through. So follow me. Did that work? It's gonna work for now, gosh darn it. But apologies for the random interruption of Sonic Adventure 2. But, with that being the case, they look fantastic, dog. Oh, but notably, I'll admit, I do like Diane's glow up more, which is crazy. As a massive King Glazer, I am shocked that I like Diane's glow up more, but I do think it's really, really nice. I like the longer dress, like literally longer in every sense. Like it goes down to her ankles. I like the new heels she's got on. I like the long sleeve of the dress, the puffy shoulders, very reminiscent of her. It's kind of like an evolved variation. It's a dress version of her primary design, which had the gauntlets and everything, which seemingly enough got soft transferred, or at least they're... Oh, this thing. I'm sorry. I'm going to cover it with my finger because it just keeps bothering me. But kind of got passed in terms of the bumps in the original design and base. Like the whole leotard thing kind of did get passed to one of her daughters. But I do like the little puffy reference, which is very similar to her original design, with the longer length, which comes somewhat from her secondary design. It's also just an extension, plus the full-scale skirt. And I do like how her pigtails are longer. Like, that's a nice little detail. Because once again, these characters cannot age. At least not that much. Remember, giants and fairies, they're noted as recently as the previous chapter to see time very, very differently because they age so slow. Like, remember, I mentioned it earlier, demons live for 1,000 years. They are the second shortest lived race next to humans. Giants can live basically forever. I don't think we've ever actually gotten like a giant lifespan thing. And for royal fairies, Gerharde, 3,000 years of biological living. Goddesses, 6,000 to 10,000 years. Like Ludacell, 6,000 years old, y'all. Like, don't get me wrong. It definitely can get tragic, pneumatic and automatic. So I think this is a nice way to give a time skip design without changing all too much. Same thing with Meliodas. That's why I like his design for the most part, except for that darn tie. So Diane, fantastic little glow up here. King, he just lost the coat. It's fine. It's fine. I like it. Once again, King just has a really, really good design already at base. So changing it too much would probably just make it worse. So I understand why Nakaba went simple and clean with it. The kids, I've already given my full thoughts on the kids. They're all the same. I do prefer them in black and white. But once again, I kind of I kind of prefer a lot of Nakaba's designs in black and white. A lot of them feel like they're more built for the manga format than they are the coloring format. Not even in just like the manga sense, like, oh, it's a manga, I'm reading a manga. Like, even in the anime, as much as I love certain characters' designs, I still prefer a lot of their black and white designs in the manga. Tristan, especially in his first appearance especially, looks infinitely better in black and white than he does in color. Tristan in general, with the heterochromia, looks better in black and white, because you can't tell it's there. I prefer that a whole lot more. But, nice little family. Once again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What were you two doing? Y'all didn't even breathe, did you? The moment that holy war ended, the moment chaos got let out, y'all said we need to make backup. You devious creatures. But hey, what's that movie called? 1,000 Years Along? And like, King was waiting for it. Which is still, their relationship is still weird. Like, I'll like, as much as I love it, as much as it's the, not necessarily the least weird, because notably, I mean, it is still kind of weird, because Elizabeth, then she like, and she didn't have her memories back at that point, so it is weird. Like, Mel's relationship is weird. I know women can be petite. I don't know, I still find, either way, Bond and Elaine's relationship is kind of weird, because Elaine's like 700, and Bond's like, what, was he still a teenager? No, he was 20. He was in his 20s, so he was an adult at that point, so I guess it was fine for Bond. I don't know, just the size dynamic bothers me. And that's a me exclusive thing, don't worry. It's not necessarily a strange thing for anything else, though it's still kind of strange. But despite having the presumably most normal of relationships, remember, King kind of helped raise Diane as a child, and then fell in love with her. It's weird. I know Diane was like 400 at the time. That doesn't change it. She has the mentality of a 4-year-old. Like, she's still a baby. So I don't know. This relationship's weird too, but I still really, really like it. I still love these two. Fantastic, fantastic. Let's see. No need for so much formality, Nasians. I heard you completed a new medicine. How have things gone? King, looking drippy. I do like the details of the cross-hatching, or what is it called? I don't know my clothing terms. What is it called? Flannel. I like the flannel. I think it adds. I think it matches the wing design really, really nice. Good stuff. But we see that Nasian says, not this time. Not well this time either, I'm afraid. I'm sorry. I haven't connected it to real results yet. You've kindly kept Percival safe these past 2 years and allowed me to stay here as well, but... Well, if our captain is... Oh, I cannot... I'm running out of female voices. I can't do it. Well, if it's our captain... I'm not going to do that either. Well, if it's our captain himself... I'm giving her a higher voice than Tiore. Well, if it's our captain himself asking, we'll help you out in any way we can. So don't worry about it, Nasians. Take all the time you need for your research, okay? And I do love that. They're both very, very supportive of Nasians. Once again, two of the sweetest characters. Like, notably, King, a little bit problematic, but Diane is like one of the few characters, like, I think out of all the sins, except for like Escanor, the only character who's done genuinely like nothing wrong. Like Merlin, devious activities. Meliodas, devious activities. Gulter, devious activities. Bond, devious activities. King, and maybe some memory wiping roses, but that's still some devious activities. But Diane and Escanor, they're kind of pure. They're kind of cool kids. So, like, I do love how pure Diane still is. Fantastic, fantastic. And once again, her daughters, golly, King, did your genetics even put up a fight? So it's like, once again, he's 2 for, like, 5. Maybe. Not really. Actually, they're kind of even. Because, then again, no, Tiore looks just like her mom. These two look just like... Well, no, she doesn't. I still don't know who she looks like. She actually does look more like her dad. So maybe actually, they're kind of bad and even. Because dad, then mom. I think Diane may be losing. Because neither of these look like their mother. I guess the hair and the eyes on this one. But, that one doesn't count. It's just not... It's not real. For the sake of my sanity, it's not real. But, let's see. We'll help out in any way we can. So don't worry about it, Nasians. Take all the time you need for your research, okay? And we see that Nasians is greatly honored, as he says, I'm greatly honored, your majesties. And both King and Diane, they lock in. They're like, stop being so snuffy! Or snuffy? We're not talking about Blue Lock. Stop being so stuffy! And notably, all their kids, with the exception of 2, start laughing. Well, notably, I do like the chair that says that it is King, Diane, and Tiore of all people who tell Nasians to loosen up a bit. But also, 1, 2, 4. I guess 3. 4 of them start laughing. But notably, this guy, who's revealed to be Myrtle, and this guy, who looks like a Sario clone, that's just Mini King, they don't laugh. But it is nice to see. They do have a nice little sense of humor. I wonder if any of these will actually end up being characters. This guy included. Like, maybe he'll be evil. I don't know. Something about hooded characters. I assume they're evil. But, like, these 4, I wonder if they'll ever end up being anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do generally. I wonder if they'll end up being something. Or if they're just going to be background dressing. I hope they do something. But they can't do much. Let's see. We see that Nasian says, I'm trying not to be. I promise. But, like, I can't blame, bro. At least the way I was raised, I always call people either my age or older, ma'am or sir. Unless they're, like, literally my friend. No matter what. They can be, like, 2 years older than me. You will be ma'amed. You will be sirred. And numerous times I've been asked to not do that, but, like, it's how I was raised. So it's just a fundamental part. Like, whenever I do it, it's not out of any, like, backwards disrespect or anything. It's just, like, it's how I knew and how I was told to do when I grew up, and it's been ingrained into me. So I understand how Nasian struggles to become informal, especially when speaking to a king and a queen, right? Especially a king and a queen of another species. Like, sure, I'm confident that you could put me in front of, as long as we could communicate, like, or even with an interpreter. Like, I could probably talk to anybody. It's just how I was raised, once again. I can probably communicate to anyone on the street or the King of England. For long. But I was about to make a joke there, but let me not. But at the same time, I can understand. I would most likely still be formal. because, yeah, that's the king. So I understand Nasian's ways here. And we see that Diane is like, just call me Diane already, right, King? And King is like, yeah, King is fine by me too. Don't worry. You're still technically honoring me by calling me King, because I am King, the GOAT. But of course, we see Nasian say, I really can't. I'm telling you, I was raised like a good child. But then he notices that both King and Diane look at him. And they both look sad. Like, notably, I did make a joke about this in live reaction, but no, they do actually kind of look sad. Like, they're looking at Nasian's quite, like, notably in this case, they look at him much more like more annoyed, but they generally look like concerned for Nasians. So I wonder if they know something. Like, a lot of people have been taking this to theorize that, oh, maybe Nasians is King and Diane's actual kid. Because notably, he does have the hair color that matches them. He doesn't have either of their eye colors, but, like, that clearly isn't a prerequisite. Look at the rest of their kids. And also, he does really look a lot like King. Like, notably, if you were to take Nasian's hat off and, like, give him a King haircut, it's basically King. And also, we know he just appeared randomly as a baby. We don't actually know Nasian's real parents. Ordo is not his real grandfather. So, it's possible, just for the scenario that's hinted at here, at the end of this chapter, but I'm still leaning against it. I think this has something to do with Nasian's condition and his general weakness of body. Because he asks, is something on my face? And we see King stutters a little bit. He's like, no, never mind. But how are things looking health-wise? And we see even their kids question, and this thing puts a finger in his thumb. Oh, this is so ugly. But we see Nasian's asks, oh, with me, you mean? Good, I suppose. I've been able to sleep just fine since coming to the fairy realm. I think the fresh air has been improving my health even. Why do you ask? And we see that they play it off as, well, you're our honored guest as well. But I think it has something to do with Nasian's health. I mean, I wouldn't be mad if Nasian's was a secret Cayenne kid. I mean, I'd be kind of sad, because that means he couldn't be involved in Camelot stuff. And it would kind of explain why he's not already involved in Camelot stuff. Because, like, why wouldn't he be? He'd be a useful asset. Imagine how useful Nasian's would be with the ability to just drop people. Just like that. Or have himself thrown at people by Donnie. Or his poisons clouds thrown at people by Donnie. Or whatever amps he's gotten. It's very clear that something's up with Nasian's. And that's why he's not joining the Crusades with everybody else who can join the Crusades. But I mean, I'm fine with it. I wouldn't mind another Cayenne kid. Because a lot of people are assuming Myrtle's the fake one. But we'll get to that in a second. We see, as the kids are all confused, this guy who looks like neither of his parents. Like, maybe his hair is going to end up being no, his hair is black. Like, his hair is black. So he doesn't look like either of his parents. But he says, Mother, Father, don't be that friendly with him. Don't you think you're being a little bit too unguarded with this human? Says the most human guy here. But we see King immediately scolds his son. Myrtle! As a person with a father, I've had moments like this where my dad has immediately just scolded me by saying my name. I've the amount of times I've heard pencil in different connotations. Like, there are a bunch of different ways you can say my name. They all strike fear when it comes from my dad. But with that being the case, we see Diane puff out her cheeks and it's like, don't talk about him that way, which is so funny. I do like this duo right here. And we see that he goes, I don't care. You must know how much strife the humans have put the giant and fairy clans through by now. Both of you lost some of your best friends in the process, didn't you? I think it far wiser to not be too involved with them. And we see King say, yes, we do have that history between us, but Nasian's isn't like that, young man. Now don't make me whip out that giant mutant multi-armed teddy bear and beat you 10 feet into the ground before you dare talk about the goat that way. And we see, before Myrtle can get his discipline on, or King can get his discipline on Myrtle, there is urgent news. I'm gonna need a sip. One moment. Stay hydrated, folks. But
Fairy King, I bring urgent news. We found a changeling, my lord. A changeling.
A changeling was lying outside our borders, sir. He was looking mighty young. And we see King and Diane freaking geek as King's like, exclamation point. And Diane is like, King, exclamation point. And we see all their kids start to, and we see Tiore, once again, makes me question her age. Because once again, she's a fairy giant hybrid. So what does she mean? This hasn't happened in ages. Is it just her education thing, or is she actually, are you septuplets? And King/Diane just had a really weird pregnancy. Or, like, what's the age difference between y'all? What is the gestational period of giants? Or giant fairy, I don't know. But with that being the case, we see that Myrtle gets furious and says, "How dare they!" and dashes off. He's quite built. Not gonna lie, bro has gained. He's probably like 2. They're like, probably like Sen Kisuke from Guilty Gear. He's probably like 3 years old. But we see him bolt off. And we see all the fairies gather around. As Theory explains to Nasians, a changeling is a kind of substitute child, you see. What? A substitute? Yes, it's when a fairy plays a trick and swaps out a human baby for a fairy one. So, see, that's interesting. That implies there are fairy babies. Which implies they do age? So do they just age really, really quickly? Is it like, was there Baby King and Baby Elaine and Baby Dahlia and Baby Gloxinia and Baby Gerarde? But they just, like, 2 weeks later they were full size? I don't know. It's interesting. But we see that the shapeshifters from long ago, they're the ones holding the baby, and they hand it over to Nasians. I don't know how he gets there first. Well, actually, no, he doesn't. But we see that Nasians questions, where was it brought from? And we see Tiore naturally notices Nasian's strange amount of affection with the baby, and she asks, "Nasi?" And Nasians reveals, "This child, it's me, back in that day." And yes, so this does imply that Nasians was a changeling baby, which makes sense, which definitely does make sense. But that does imply he's human. That does imply he's human. Because at least based on the way that the changeling scenario is explained, it's when a fairy baby is swapped with the human baby. So Nasian's parents got the fairy baby. Nasian himself would still be human. At least in my view. That's my understanding of it. That once again, I've seen a bunch of people trying to argue that Myrtle's a faker, and Nasian's is the real Cayenne child, or the real 7th Cayenne child. I don't know. Once again, I won't be mad at it. But with it being the case, I do like the detail that he has the Ouroboros on him, just like all the others had the Ouroboros on them. And we see that a certain fairy goes, "Help me! Help! He's gonna make me spread it!" And we see that Myrtle's like, "My father ordered you miscreants to stop with these malicious pranks, didn't he? He told you to not wreck the relationship we have with the humans. And now look at what you've done. I'm gonna take your head right now." And we see that Nasia's like, wait a minute, Myrtle, please. That's not going to solve anything. And one of the shapeshifters is like, "Whoa, what are you doing here?" And we see that Myrtle's like, "What? I don't need outsiders like you butting in. This is fairy business." Bucko, you look less fairy than he does. But of course, we see Nasians be like, "I'm afraid I can't keep quiet about this." And looks like we may get Myrtle versus not. Probably not, 'cause he's holding a baby. So unless he hands the baby over to Tiore, they aren't going to fight. But like, Myrtle versus Nasians maybe coming up. A little bit more action. And we see that Tiore, once again, hinting at the fact that she may be mentally older or just a sadist for some reason. She's like, "Look at those two. What'll I do? This is just so much fun." She's nuts. She's nuts and or 4. There's no in between. But overall, that's the end of the chapter. Once again, knockable with these weird behind chapter endings. A very W chapter. I like it a whole lot. Once again, it is mainly a softer world building kind of gas and an update on where certain characters are and elaboration and explanation on locations and catching up with other original series characters while showing us the position of new series characters and introducing the Cayenne kids, things that have basically been exclusive interview material for the most part up to this point. Really, really good chapter. Really, really good chapter. Like I said, it's the kind of gas that you'll enjoy in retrospect. When we're going crazy in one of the final arcs or something like that, we're going to remember this chapter. Some nice, smooth, buttery stuff, you know what I'm saying? So I like it a whole lot. However, that's what I think. This is what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you somehow made it all the way to the end of this chunker of a video, please leave Poison Master. Leave Poison Master in the comment section down below. I'd like to thank you so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that little notification bell so you not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do happen to have a Patreon down below where you can support me for as little as $1 a month. Things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as little as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks include the 40-minute live reaction to this very chapter, along with ad-free variations of all my videos. And if you become a $25 patron or a $25 member, you get to request one video a month. And I have to make it, no matter what. For the most part. There are limits, but not too many limits, so trust me. But I want to thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dagger the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members, Recliner Plays, Red Wolf 4765, Greyhound, and Atkins Void. I'd like to give another big thank you to our $5 patrons, Victor, Sean, RNG Master, Midnight Gemlord, Metal Solid Crisis, Kevin, Igneal, and Demix LND. Another scrumptious thank you to our $7 members, Autumn, Mornings, Lazo, and Sick Addiction. And I'd like to give another hefty thank you to our $10 patrons, Robbie Uchiha, Joaquin, Idemokami, and China Doll 09. And I'd like to give another gargantuan thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose. And I'd like to give a thank you, an amazing thank you to our $25 patron, Calvin Elder. And another thank you to our next $25 patron, eHack1. And a final thank you to our final $25 patron, Steeron.